It is the Dynasty off season, and what's better than one show with the hot seat? Two! That's right, Mags is back, this time to do some Dynasty sales. Mags, let's dive straight into it. Why, at this time of year, would you be particularly looking to sell any players? Is it injury related, is it performance related, or is it just that you feel they're overvalued?
It's almost like I want to sell now before they get on the field and prove me right. If that makes any sense. Like, I don't want to wait and see for some of these guys where I'm pretty sure that I know what kind of path they're going. So it's the kind of thing that as soon as they hit the field, I could see their value plummet, and I'm not going to get the value that they're currently at right now. So it is a lot of hearsay and prediction. That's what the off season's all about. But these guys are people that I would expect, by the time they hit their bye week, their value is going to be lower than what it is now. So I'm trying to get in now, take advantage, and get these guys out of there. Well, they're still riding on last year's success.
Superb. Well, let's kick it off. Brock Purdy. We're selling him, Mags. QB 15 on DLF, QB 13 on Keep Trade Cut. They've both got his trade value as worth an early 2025 or 2026 first round pick. Why are we concerned about Brock Purdy and looking to get out on him right now?
Kind of concerned about the 49ers in general. Like, kind of just like, I don't know what quite is going on there. I mean, we've seen Purdy do really, really well when he had the all-star cast around him, where he had everybody there, and we've slowly seen those names start to disappear. Debo's gone. Who knows what's going to happen with Christian McCaffrey? Ayuk, I mean, I like my wide receivers with a little edge, to maybe not that much. Maybe not as much as Ayuk's guys. Maybe gone a bit too far. So I'm just a little bit concerned about his supporting cast. And then you have to ask yourself, is he good enough to do it without that supporting cast? And do I just look around at the players, at least on Keep Trade Cut, the players going directly below him? Do I go and look at someone like JJ McCarthy, who I think has got a better surrounding cast now, or Kyler Murray, or Trevor Lawrence, who I think is a much better player overall? There's just guys below him that maybe are in the same tier, and Purdy could just be the victim of something I quite like to do as well, which is sell the player at the top of a tier and go all the way to the bottom of a tier you have and try and get a profit. So I think that's just kind of the place that he's sitting right now. He's sitting at the top of a tier with a bunch of other players. So I'm happy to sell him and if I can get Trevor Lawrence plus for Brock Purdy, I'm loving it.
Yeah, I think Purdy's one of these players that I agree with the valuation of him. I agree with the ranking of him. If he's on your roster as anything other than a QB3, you're not a contender. And it's like, what are you doing? So, if he's your QB1, your team's terrible. Let's be brutally frank. If he's your QB2, you're at a disadvantage every single week and you're likely not a contender. If he's your QB3, great. Okay, you're in a good place. But realistically, how many teams is the QB 13, 15 overall, wherever you want to rank him, going to be your QB3? And it's like, I just feel like if you're a serious contending team, I would be needing an upgrade on him as my quarterback. I'm looking to pay up off of him. So I agree with the sell point. And if you're not a contending team, where's the upside? Like, I always talk about the way you get yourself out of a rebuild and turn yourself into a contender is you acquire risk. You chase upside, you acquire risk, and you raise that risk profile in the hopes that if it pays off, you accelerate the rebuild. Well, even if Brock Purdy plays really well over the next 2-3 years, he's probably going to be valued exactly the same as where he is now. And, could guys, you mentioned some names in terms of, JJ McCarthy or Cam Ward or Michael Penix that are going similar or below him. Yeah, all of those guys might fade out, but they could equally, all of those have got top 10 Dynasty QB potential. Brock Purdy doesn't have that. So I think he's a perfect sell because I'm almost saying I don't understand what he's achieving on your roster in terms of, unless you just want to be a mediocre team, I don't get it. And if he is your QB3, maybe, you've got a riskier QB2 like Caleb Williams or something like that, and you want that security of a solid, reliable QB3, then that's a perfect situation. But outside of that, I can't see any situation where you should be happy for Brock Purdy to be your quarterback. So I love this. I think it's a really interesting conversation to have, and I think it's a really interesting place. The one thing I do think that I want to put out into the ether, just because I think it's getting misunderstood, shall we say, is that people keep talking about, oh, now the 49ers are paying Brock Purdy, they're not going to be able to keep anyone. I get it, but that's not really how it works. Go and look at his contract. He's got a $9 million cap hit this year, $24 million in 2026, and $30 million in 2027. Those are really manageable numbers. I mean, off the top of my head, I'd imagine Cam Ward's probably got a bigger cap hit this year as the first round pick. Like, those 3 years are very, very manageable. The 49ers are going to be able to retain Ayuk, Trent Williams, George Kittle, all those important guys over the next couple of years. And yeah, when we get to 2028, they're probably going to either have to restructure Brock Purdy or start to lose some of those offensive pieces. Well, Trent Williams is going to be like 43 at that point. George Kittle's probably going to age out. Like that, they're moving on from those guys at that point anyway. So I don't necessarily think that just because they've suddenly signed Brock Purdy to this contract, it means that they're blowing it up and having to get rid of everyone. I think Deebo Samuel was already out the door, whether they pay Brock Purdy or not. But yeah, as I said, I feel like I've rambled on quite a lot there. I really like this as a thing. In terms of valuation, so as you can say, Keep Trade Cut got him an early first. I've got him valued at 2 random firsts and a second. Where do you sit in that scope of what you would want, at least, if you were selling him?
Yeah, if I'm selling him, again, like I mentioned earlier, and this is a general rule I have for most quarterbacks, I'm gonna need a quarterback coming my way as well. So like I said, ideally, if you can use those rankings, and if those rankings are true for what we play in, and you can get a JJ McCarthy plus or a Trevor Lawrence plus, that's kind of what I like doing with Brock Purdy. If you're right, if I was going to trade up as well, that's a nice move. I'm looking to use him as a piece and get a quarterback coming the other way. I generally don't like just getting picks for quarterbacks unless unless the pick is locked in and I know I can draft a quarterback with that pick. I tend to stay away from just taking picks for quarterbacks because they're just notoriously hard to buy if you don't have one. Yeah,
absolutely. I agree with everything you said. I give value in terms of picks just because I think it's easy to talk about, isn't it? In terms of people understand where we're sitting. To talk you through some, I've got the Keep Trade Cut trade calculator up here to get you some offers that I absolutely love. You can go from Brock Purdy, add a second round pick, and that can get you Jordan Love.
Yeah,
absolutely love that. Apparently, you can get Trevor Lawrence plus a third. I mean, I would take Trevor Lawrence all day, every day, straight up over Brock Purdy. So if I'm getting Nasty on top of that, that's absolutely amazing. And then, the JJ McCarthy, Cam Ward, apparently you can get a first on top of them for Brock Purdy. So, yeah, it's a late first, but apparently you can get a first. Also, another one, I think Michael Penix can be thrown in there. I love all of those in terms of chasing that upside. If I'm getting a significant asset on top of those for Brock Purdy, that's a deal I'm doing every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. Let's move across to your next sell, though, Mags. I feel like we're getting slightly spicy now. Lab McConkey, Twitter darling, the one that everybody truly loves. He is getting up there in price, though. Wide receiver 12 on DLF, wide receiver 10 on Keep Trade Cut. Why are we selling Lad McConkey, Max?
12 months ago, I was telling everyone to draft Lad McConkey, so this does feel a bit like, hold on, but the value, it's too high, Rich. I think the value is just too high. Like, I love Lad McConkey. I think that he's a great player, but he's the first piece in the puzzle at the Chargers. And last year, he benefited from that. And I think they're going to continue to build on that. They're going to run the ball more this year. They've got Omari and Hampton, for goodness sake. They're going to run the ball an absolute ton with him. They've brought in Trey Harris, who's going to get something. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with him. Who knows what he is able to do coming out of Ole Miss. It's always a bit of a mystery. But I think they'll have a plan for Trey Harris. I still think Lad McConkey's, obviously, he's going to be that number one target for sure. But I just think he's going to end up with less targets than he did last year. And I think he's going to have not a huge collapse, but just a slight dip into that sort of high-end wide receiver 2 category instead of being that, bona fide wide receiver 1 for your dynasty teams. And at the minute, I'm looking around the valuations of Lad McConkey. I mean, he's sandwiched between Nico Collins and Marvin Harrison Jr. And I can't get that high on Lad McConkey. I just can't do it. I can see him regressing a little bit, not a lot. I'm not saying Lad McConkey's dead, but I'm saying this might be the highest his value is ever going to be. And when I ever feel like that in my head, I'm just thinking sell, sell, sell.
Yeah, I think, whenever you can sell at what you perceive to be a peak value, it's a conversation you need to have. I love everything you've said. I love all the points you made. It's, I feel like a bit of a lad basher because coming out, I wasn't his biggest fan. My rookie model didn't love him. The production wasn't really there. And he kind of proved me wrong. I thought he was a good route runner. He proved to be a great one last year.
Yeah.
The question is that where he's being valued, he's in that kind of third tier of wide receiver. We've got our elite 2, 3, whatever you want to call it. And then there's the CD Lambs and Ross St. Browns, Pukas, that sort of chunk. Do I think he is going to be a player that can either command obscene volume consistently? Is he going to be a 150 target guy year in, year out? Or is he a guy that can add something else in terms of value, whether that be incredible yards after the catch as a deep threat or a red zone weapon that's going to push him into those top 2 tiers? I don't see any of that for him. I think he's going to be a target reliant, volume reliant option just because we're going to see more of that underneath intermediate work. But I don't see him being a 150 plus target guy year in, year out. So it's like, as you said, they're adding more. I think they're going to continue to add more, whether it's next off season or beyond. This isn't a finished offense. They're going to continue to build around Justin Herbert. So I'm kind of with you in that I feel like he's at the peak because, as you said, wide receiver 10 on keep trade cut. I don't think even if he has a good year, he's going to jump up ahead of those guys above him. So he feels like a really nice player to pivot off of now. If you're pivoting, is there any players that you're particularly targeting that are going below him in ADP? I mean, to throw some guys at you, we've got, as you said, Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, Tet McMillan, Travis Hunter, T. Higgins, Rashee Rice, Devonta Smith. Any of those guys that you're particularly eyeing up in the trade?
I mean, you mentioned a couple of them there, like Marvin Harrison Jr. Obviously, on the last video, if you've not seen it already, he was one of my buys that I mentioned. So make sure you go check that out. I mean, Garrett Wilson, of course, is someone I'm always trying to add to my team. Jackson Smith and Jigba sitting right there. I see they're when I look at a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba, I can see him breaking into that Puka kind of ceiling and getting there. When I look at Marvin Harrison Jr., I can see them potentially getting into that tier in a way that I just don't see it for Lad McConkey. So those two names really do stand out. And if you want to go down a little bit further down to wide receiver 17, Rashee Rice, who we know when he was on the field last year was absolutely spectacular with the Kansas City Chiefs. I can see Rashee Rice finishing ahead of Lad McConkey this year in terms of total points. So if I can get Rashee Rice plus, I wouldn't be surprised if they flip around by the end of this year where we see Lad McConkey slip down to wide receiver 17 and Rashee Rice is actually the one up at wide receiver 10. So if I act now, I can get a plus on Lad McConkey where I really believe that in 12 months' time, people want a plus on Rashee Rice to get, if you're trading down and get Lad McConkey. So I'm thinking ahead a little bit. Rashee Rice stands out to me along with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, absolutely. If you hit the join button, if you're on a desktop or a PC down below, you would become a member of the Fantasy Sanctuary. In doing so, you get access to all of my trade values, all of my trade calculators, ranks, all the Dynasty content you could ever dream. If you did that and loaded up my trade value chart, you would see that I currently have Rashee Rice as my wide receiver 10 and Lad McConkey as my wide receiver 17. So absolutely. Join the Sanctuary. We're already there, Max. We're already there with that.
You're 12 months ahead always.
Pro Rashee Rice podcast right here. But whilst you're also down there becoming a member, hit the subscribe button. We are in best ball season. Tom and Tyler are absolutely killing it, and redraft is just around the corner. We got some big plans for stuff to be dropping into your feed, so you will not want to miss it. Mags, we are heading over to your final sell candidate. I'm just going to hand it over to you. Tee us up. Who are we going for?
People might be mad at this one, Rich.
Hey, look, you said you were bringing the heat. This one feels even spicier. Jahmyr Gibbs, Dynasty running back 1.
Yeah.
Why is now the moment that you should be selling him?
Because you can't have a committee back as the running back 1. You can't have it, Rich. I'm sorry. Like, it's like people forgot David Montgomery exists, and he's still real to me. Damn it, Rich. I still think David Montgomery, when he was on the field last year, Jahmyr Gibbs, sure, he was excellent, but no one was talking about Jahmyr Gibbs being Dynasty running back 1 overall whenever David Montgomery was on the field with him. And guess what? David Montgomery is going to be on the field with him next year. If you look at Gibbs, whenever Montgomery was playing, he was doing excellent for sure. He was running back 5 overall whenever Gibbs was playing with David Montgomery. That's still really, really good. That's not what I want for my running back 1. I want him to be top 3 minimum. Like, you got to be way up there. And I just don't think the Lions are willing to give Gibbs that share of the load whenever they still have David Montgomery under contract. Rich, you're the contract guy. You'll probably be able to tell me what the David Montgomery contract situation is like and if this will change for Gibbs, but I just don't like having a committee back as running back 1 overall. I am not telling you Jahmyr Gibbs is trash. He is amazing. I'm not telling you that I do not like Jahmyr Gibbs on my rosters. I really, really do. But I'm just saying, as running back 1 overall, that means you can get literally any other running back and then a plus on top for Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm doing that. I'm sorry. I don't want to make people mad, but I got to. I can't not.
No, I feel after you've tripped over yourself with all those caveats, I feel like you've kind of walked it back enough. No, so I think two points that I want to add to that. So first of all, before we dive into my points, David Montgomery obviously signed an extension in October. So he's not going anywhere for a little while.
I knew you'd have the info.
So yeah, they can save about just under $4 million if they move on from him next year, but he's only got an $8 million cap hit. So I'd imagine he's going to be around in 2026, 2027. Maybe they can save about $8 million moving on from him. So that might be the point at which they move on from him. Of course, they will then need to pay Jahmyr Gibbs to keep him under contract. So it might be that they're saying that's enough resources spent to the running back room. So bye-bye to David Montgomery. Now, I don't disagree with anything you've said, but I think there's 2 massive concerns that we weren't even touched on. Ben Johnson's gone. Like, I don't care how good, you can believe in this coaching staff as a whole and how they've been able to promote from within and stuff like that. You've just seen a top 5 play caller walk out the door. Yeah, okay. Hopefully beyond hope, John Morton is good and he just picks up where Ben Johnson left off. But that's a concern we need to consider. The other thing is that this is no longer the best offensive line in the league. Okay. We talked about this the last few years. It's not, Frank Ragnall's retired out of the blue. And the Lions have gone out and they spent a 2nd round pick on Tate Ratledge, who looks like a great fit, the guy that will literally bite kneecaps and fit into this offense perfectly. But you've now got an offense that's starting a 6th round pick from last year and a 2nd round rookie on the interior offensive line. Okay, they've still got 2 elite tackles. Graham Glasgow is still very good. But we've got question marks over the offensive line. We've got question marks over the play caller. And as you said, he's not getting all the workload. At best, we're seeing kind of a 60% opportunity share. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm with you. I love the player. I love the explosion. He is one of those guys that you could see having a 50-point PPR week and winning you a title. If there's huge amounts of contingent upside with David Montgomery. If he gets injured, Jahmyr Gibbs wheels up kind of thing. But as you quite rightly said, running back one prices, it's nervous. I'm very, very nervous. And there's enough concerns that I don't think you can be drafting Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan Robinson, over Ashton Genty. So for me, I need to be at least looking and seeing if I can get something for him.
I don't know what the percentage chance would be, but I think as well, if you looked at the percentage chance of you being ranked running back 1 12 months after you were ranked running back 1, it's probably very low. I think we've seen that shift and change quite a bit from Christian McCaffrey to Bijan Robinson. Alvin Kamara for a while was probably
Breece Hall was in there for a little bit. Yeah,
Breece Hall, yeah. It shifts and changes a lot. So I think betting on someone staying there is a bet you're going to lose most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. As Tom asked the question at our Fantasy Sanctuary meetup last week, when was the last time someone repeated as the RB1?
Yeah,
I can't remember what the answer was from the quiz, but it was a while ago.
It wasn't Jamal Charles. I put Jamal Charles, which I was so confident as well. It wasn't him. It was somebody else. I can't remember.
I was convinced it was LT. I feel like he said it was Priest Holmes, but I was convinced it was LT more recently. But hey, We'll leave it there. And that is it. 3 players you need to be selling right now. 2 of them particularly spicy. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know in the comments below. And before you disappear, Mags, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, go check out the YouTube channel, Dynasty Hot Seat, if you want to see some more Dynasty content. Got some mock drafts on there, coupled with Rich and Tom as well. I'm sure you can find them. They're not going to be hard to find in there. And I'm currently rebuilding the worst Dynasty team you've ever seen in your life. If you're watching, you think you know how to help out with people's Dynasty teams, come along, check it out, watch an episode, leave a comment saying what you think I should do. And that's the whole show. The next episode, I'll do it. So come check it out.
We are huge Hot Seat fans here in the Sanctuary. Go ahead and give it a subscribe and check out the content because Mags is doing fantastic work. Stick around. We will have more Dynasty content coming, but we are creeping towards redraft season. So get ready for all of that. And of course, Tom and Tyler are killing it on the Best Ball streets.